So my question is this. I don't believe he's going to have quick fixes other than the executive orders on the border. What is your insight on Trump's ability to do what he promised the first time, which is get the Democrats to sit down with the Republicans to create legislation that does what we need done in 2 or 3 major areas?
I don't know. I mean, he'll have somebody do that. Maybe Vance will do that.
You don't think it'll be him?
He's not going to do it. No, he's not interested in that. He'll tell Vance or whoever he appoints, look, let's get this done. Here's what I'd like to see. But Trump himself going to do it? No way. He bored to tears. He's not going to do that. Donald Trump is essentially what he was before he got into politics. He wants to make great deals, build giant towers in the sky, and amass, back then, as much money as he could. Now, he wants the approval of the American people. That is the untold story. He wants the approval of the American people, even the people who hate him. And I'll give you one very vivid example. There's a woman who works for the New York Times. She's all over CNN, named Maggie Haberman. You know him?
I know her very well.
She's a reporter. Okay. She hates Trump, despises him. Every time she's on TV, he's the devil, he's this.
He shouldn't talk to her so much then.
Can't say no. Can't say no to her.
Yeah.
It's like Woodward. Woodward writes books. He gets big advances. He tells the publisher, hey, I'm going to write a book. It's going to make Trump look like the worst person on earth. Give me $1 million. The publisher goes, okay. And then Trump goes, hey, come on in. Come on in. I'll talk to you all day long. He wants their approval. He wants Haberman to like him. He wants Woodward to convince Woodward that he's a smart, good guy. It'll never happen. But that's how much he wants that kind of approval.
Well, you say he wants this.
And so I don't see him getting in micromanaging those kinds of détentes between parties. He's not a party guy, bored with it.
I'm not challenging what you know, Bill, but I have to ask you this. In light of what you're explaining to us, they have the Senate. They're probably going to have the House. He's in the White House. You say that he wants to be liked even by the people who hate him. Right. Why would we believe that that's the case if he has basically complete autonomy where he doesn't have to deal with the other side at all because they have control of the House and the Senate and he doesn't need them to get things done?
Well, it's not a matter of have. He wants to go down in history as one of the greatest presidents ever. And he's done something that is historically, there's 2 things. And I am the confronting the president's guy, okay? Still on a bestseller list after 9 weeks. He's done 2 unbelievable things. Number 1, he's done what Grover Cleveland did. Uncle Jumbo. That's what his nieces and nephews called him, Grover, 350 pounds. And he wasn't an offensive lineman. He just liked a lot of breakfast, all right? And Cleveland's second term was a disaster. And I've told Trump, you need to read what happened so you don't duplicate that, okay? So he wants to go down in history as one of the titans. He wants to be on Mount Rushmore. In fact, he'll buy a mountain and put himself on the mountain, okay? That's what he wants. That's his legacy. So he wants to achieve so-called great things. He's motivated to do it. And he's the hardest working SOB I have ever seen. There has never been a presidential candidate or a president that's worked harder than that man. Never. So if you like work ethic, I mean, compared to Biden, who half the day's in a hammock someplace, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Right, but I'm saying, look.
But he wants to go down in history.
Then he's got to make legislative achievements happen. Because unless there's a huge war,
right.
It doesn't happen. Although I will say this, to Bill's point. When he runs the first time, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was not supposed to be as involved as he wound up being. That was about attrition and him becoming paranoid. He was in charge of an initiative called DJT 100, which was an initiative to get him to 100% popularity in the country.
Wow.
And it was an initiative to find out how many things can we do that will make everyone happy. So
there you go.
But wait a minute. No. Excuse me for interjecting. We can't just say easily, there you go. Because Obviously, we can't refute the facts of that. It happened. It was true. The flip side is they put him through a lot. They went after this man. They tried to incarcerate him. They impeached him twice. They convicted him of 34 felonies for crying out loud. So is that same individual still there, DJT 100? No. Does he care about that now? I don't know if the answer to that question, Bill, Chris, is yes.
I think he wants to be a big man, like Bill says, of course. Hey, thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget, click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.